Affordability is a big problem.
It is.
A lot of Nigerians can't afford the mortgage we offer. If people can afford, even at 6 mortgage, if people can afford because their salary is small, happen in the agricultural sector, we should replicate that and even do better.
Hi everyone, my name is Wai Chingazi and I represent AG Mortgage Bank PLC, and I will be your host for today. And today we have a very critical topic to discuss on, and it's affordable housing in Nigeria. Affordability is quite relative, and today we'll be speaking extensively on this. And I have Dr. Simon Ogu. He is a veteran and has been in the mortgage climb for over 20 years, where his work speaks and still speaking for him. So today we have with us today Dr. Simon Ojonimi Ogu. I love the middle name Ojonimi. So please welcome with us today Dr. Simon Ogu. He's the Executive Director, COO, AG Mortgage Bank PLC. You're very welcome, sir.
Thank you, Ngozi, the quintessential Ngozi. Thank you for having me this day on this podcast. You've started well by saying that affordability is relative. I like that starting point. Affordability is actually a relative term when it comes to housing solution, because what is affordable to one man may be expensive to another man. However, if I get what you're saying right, you're talking about providing houses for the critical masses of our Nigerian population, and if that is what it is, then we're talking about low-cost housing, as it were. Low-cost housing in Nigeria is also not becoming low-cost anymore, because there are so many factors that are currently militating against housing provision, affordability, accessibility, and availability of those houses. And some of those things are high cost of construction, access to genuine land. The Land Use Act Decree 3 of 1973 or 75 had made it so impossible for people to have access to good land, good title. And if you don't have access to good title, the problem of low-cost houses or affordable houses becomes a challenge. We also have high cost of the building material, and rapid urbanization. In Nigeria today, the trend is we have a high rate of rural to urban migration. That movement is putting pressure on the urban cities, and as the urban cities are growing, basic economics taught us that the forces of demand and supply supply set prices. So when you get to a city like Lagos, where you have over 25 million persons living on that small space of land, you realize that no matter how well you want to make housing low cost, it might almost be impossible. Land is a limitation, population is on the increase, inflation is hitting the building material market. Recently now, because of the Persian Gulf War, we are seeing an astronomical rise in price, and particularly the diesel markets that funds and support construction a whole lot, and support construction a whole lot. Diesels jump up to between 1,700 to 1,800 and something, and that alone is a lot of pressure on the housing sector. So when we talk about low cost, or we talk of affordable homes in Nigeria, is quite a big challenge. But that is the problem. Are we going to remain on that stead and say we are faced with the whole challenges and all of that? I don't think the answer is a yes. We will keep facing it, and we will continue to weather the storm, and I'm sure our real estate industry will continue to come out better and better by the day.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, sir. I wanted to ask the next question: why is affordable housing a big issue? But you've covered it all, and you've answered that. Fantastic. So the next question I will ask is, what initiative? Now we know what the issue is. There's some of those issues that are even beyond us. Yeah, we know what the issue is. So what are the initiatives that exist to make housing more affordable? And I know you were you were part of the committee that came up with or birthed the initiative MREF. So with that, what are the initiatives we have in place to make housing more affordable for Nigerians?
Okay, thank you so much. You also have, again, hit it well. The housing sector in Nigeria is experiencing some very fantastic initiative. There's a legacy initiative that is already on ground, again by Decree 3 of 1992, which is the National Housing Fund, NHF, and in which workers are meant to contribute, I think, about 2% or 2.5% of their basic housing allowance to the fund. That fund has been in existence and has been managed by the Federal Mortgage Bank, providing mortgage loan at 6% for as much as 30 years, as much as 30 years. It's a fantastic initiative. Federal Mortgage Bank has done well in that space, had funded a number of homes. I don't have the statistics right now to see the total number of homes that have been funded under that scheme. But recently, the MOFI Real Estate Investment Fund came into light. And on the side of the Mortgage Bankers Association of Nigeria, we were drafted into a small committee that established and worked with ARM, the fund managers, to be able to draft and craft the eligibility criteria for the subsector to assess and provide the funds to Nigerians. And that fund that came in very handy, supporting what the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria is doing and pushing access to funds to create mortgages for Nigeria. And I'm sure they've done so well. I also don't have statistics of the total number of mortgages that have been created and the volume that has been disbursed, but over time, it's been a very great movement. In AG Mortgage Bank, our own bank, I think we had accessed over 8 to 10 billion naira, close to 10 billion naira from the MOFI Real Estate Investment Fund managed by ARM, and it's been very okay. ARM has also done well in managing the fund, speedy the processing, quality administration, quality management skill we've seen from them, and that is a great intervention in the affordable and low-cost housing space. And it's been capped at about 100 million naira maximum single obligor limits. And I think that is fantastic, so that the pie can go around, people can have access to this fund, and then they are doing well. Maybe in our next podcast, we'll be able to come back if we have follow-up questions to talk to you about the statistics of what these ones have done. Family Home Fund also has been there, very supportive of the housing and home financing sector. They also have been doing well through their blended home finance of help to own or help to buy, and they've done very well there, giving out, ensuring that they give out loan at single-digit interest rate, starting from 4.5%, and then it's graduated upward. So there are several interventions that the government of the day is actually putting in place, and then the Federal Ministry of Housing also came up with Renewed Hope Housing Initiative across the country. I think they started with a sample project at Abuja, Nigeria, and Lagos, Nigeria. And those are critical steps, but it's still not enough. We still need to do more. The market is yearning for more. The population is yearning for more. We still have over 24 million housing deficit in Nigeria. So the space is still yearning for serious initiative and serious intervention. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. That's awesome. One of our core values here, one of them is teamwork, and for us in AG Mortgage Bank, team is together, everybody achieves more. So we're looking at now the government and also the mortgage bank. How can government and the mortgage bank work together to solve this housing deficit?
Okay, yeah. So first, I have been advocating through our association, and we will continue to advocate that government needs to be decisive about providing home financing fund. I'm not talking about building homes and all of that. Making mortgage available, making funds available through the mortgage instrument. I think that's the best way to put it. Making funds available through the mortgage platform for Nigerians at very, very, very reduced interest rates. Because I have seen some governments, some successful government of the past, put anchor borrowers fund in place for farmers. But I haven't seen maybe the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Federal Ministry of Finance, apart from MREF, But MREF is even a fund. It's a blend of the capital market and government. From what we're told and what we've seen, the government brought in 100 billion into the fund as initial takeoff fund, and the capital market, the ARM raised money from the capital market to the tune of 150 billion. But that's not what we're talking about. It's good, but that's not what we're talking about. We're looking at a situation where the government will be deliberate in providing housing fund at reduced interest rate to the mortgage sector of the Nigerian economy. Maybe 2%, maybe 3%, because affordability is a big problem.
It is.
A lot of Nigerians can't afford the mortgage we offer today, even at 6% interest rate of the Federal Mortgage Bank. And it's capped at 50 million maximum single obligor limit. So it's a big challenge. If people can afford a mortgage, if people can afford because their salary is small, the solution is to lower interest rate, particularly for this sector. That is intervention. We are yearning for that intervention. Nigerian government needs to look into this sector and be decisive about it. There are mortgage institutions in Nigeria now that are ready, well capitalized to undertake this venture. Even some of the commercial banks, when this intervention fund is made available, they are also ready, well capitalized to undertake this venture. But we need this intervention. If it can happen in the agricultural sector, we should replicate that and even do better in the housing and mortgage sector, because shelter is one of the basic necessity and needs of humanity, isn't it?
Awesome. Very true. Thank you so much for this, Dr. Simon. I wanted to ask the question, what solutions realistically? But you've answered that. And the truth about it is, when the housing issue is sorted, some people could go to bed and go and sleep without eating. You have clothes you wear, but the housing is an issue. Now, I want to ask with regards to private sector, because I heard you speak around the private sector. What role does the private sector play in affordable housing?
Part of the solution, I just talked about one thing that the government should do. Maybe I should still go back to that, then I'll come into the private sector role. Government also needs to be deliberate in terms of provision of infrastructure. Yes. If government goes into some lands, hinterlands, and develop massive infrastructure there at no cost, you realize that they will be able to put control over the cost of housing and lower cost of construction. But what we see in Nigeria today is a situation where any estate that will be accessible, the private developer is the one putting infrastructure in place, and it's leading to high cost of those houses. Do you understand? We spoke about the Land Use Act, and we also need to talk about the speculation part of the land, where a land that normally shouldn't be more than certain amount is priced at an escalated price. Those also are factors militating against the cost of delivering houses, and this build up to the high cost of houses that you see in Nigeria. So the private sector, they are doing a whole lot. And I want to thank the government and the regime of President Olusegun Obasanjo that brought the monetization of housing policy into this country, thereby privatizing home ownership. Hitherto we used to have government quarters. Government quarters with high cost of maintenance, and people were limited. People didn't have home of their own. You serve the government, you live in the quarter for 30, 35 years, and when you're done, you're thrown out. And at old age, people will be struggling to go back to their villages, or those who want to stay back in the urban city will be struggling to put up a shanty house to live in. But Obasanjo turned around that, and that has increased. That excited the private sector, and you can say that there are a lot of real estate developers now in our country, and they are all doing well. And that singular act alone had turned around what is happening around the built environment and the construction and the built environment. You see so many houses springing up, and people are now owning homes of their own. That is one of the roles of the private sector. The private sector is trying, but the government needs to provide the enabling environment through constructive, well-structured policy that will make housing affordable. Today, the inflationary trend in the real estate building material market is too huge,
and
it is tumbling over and over and over. You cannot have a hold over it. Today it's estimated that about 15% inflation is right now in the construction building material market. And you cannot say what it will be like tomorrow. I can wake up tomorrow and cement has jumped. You can wake up tomorrow as reinforcement is jumped. You can wake up tomorrow, aggregate is gone. Aggregate that is being mined in our own country, quarried in our country, is going up every now and then. So these are challenges. And the more the government intervene by providing policies, by creating the necessary enabling environment, the better. The better for the housing sector to thrive.
Thank you so much, Doctor. This is quite insightful session, and want to say a big thank you once again to you, Doctor. We would want to have you over and over on this our show. We want to say a big thank you also to the government and those in the private sector trying to make home ownership affordable. And we hope this message goes far and wide and let the government know they still have a lot of things to do. They've done well, but they can do better. More wonderful policies so that people can have affordable homes. With the number of persons we have in Nigeria, if we don't tackle this, it will continue to be an issue. And we don't want our children coming to have issues with housing which is already there. So I want to say a big thank you once again to the team, to AG Mortgage Bank, and also to Dr. Simon Ojonimi Ogo. We hope to have this session again with you as our special guest again. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Always.
Thank you.